Greetings, would-be farmer here, Crescent City, Florida. Part 3 of our 6-part video series. It sounds so professional, and I'm anything but that, I think. Part 3 of our 6-part video series on the 2-year anniversary celebration of our 5-year permaculture project. Anyway, this is going to be Zone 1, the area around the house. Permaculturalists have set up, I think, 5 different zones that they label. Anyway, Zone 1 is near the house, where it's going to have frequent travel, frequent need, etc., etc. Mosquito move out of the way. You're not invited into this video. Oh, it's Florida. Sorry, Central Florida. Mosquitoes. Anyway, so let's get started. I'll try to keep it brief. And Jan, the awesome camera operator, is working out right now. She's not going to be available, so I'm going to wing this myself. All right, front of the house. This is, and I just trimmed it so it looks kind of nasty. And I know we're fighting the sun, but this is our hugel rain garden. What I did, because we were having some issues with rainwater, with the runoff coming up and flooding the porch on the north side of the house and keeping it wet, I dug it out like you might dig out a rain garden, and then around the southeast side, because that's where our slope heads towards our pond in the back, and I don't know if you can see it, I put in a lot of wood, felled wood from Hurricane Irma. So I built up kind of a berm around the southeast side, and that was to keep moisture off the north side of the house, because the water would just sit right on that porch. So it's done pretty well. As I said, I had to trim it back because my wood chip guy brought a couple of loads of wood chips for me. And this time I had him come down here towards this end of the property, further in, and he squished half of the rain garden, because in Florida they let everybody drive. Anyway, that's kind of cruel, but all right, so let's do this. Let's have some fun. All right, this side of the house, this would be the west side. You can see I've got a rain barrel here, collecting rainwater, drips down the chain or floods past the chain if it's heavy. And I've got 2 hoses that take the water down the slope, one of them to a little pond, a micro pond, a micro frog pond, where I have some minnows in there that take care of business. So that gets run off frequently. In the winter, I will add a little bit of irrigation to it because it's not going to get a lot of water. I want to keep it aerated, except I try to do that every day in the winter when it's not raining. All right, so the front should be out of the sun here for a while. As far as edibles, I've got a katuk that I've planted here. Katuk is nice flavor, somewhere between a pea and a peanut. I believe they're from Southeast Asia. Does that sound right? Anyway, they can grow in full shade. So since this is a very shady part of the house, I have katuk growing there. This is a citrus that grew on its own, and I've done some research, and I think it's either a pomelo or a grapefruit or somewhere in there. So I'm going to leave that, let it do its thing, see what happens. And this grew on its own too. Cranberry hibiscus, and maybe I dropped a seed somehow, because I have been planting cranberry hibiscus, but I didn't plant any up there, at least not intentionally, unless the squirrels are moving stuff around or the birds again. All right, we were blessed with this lovely Japanese plum and its offspring. I think there were 6 or 7 up front. Now they're closer to 8 or 9, and I moved 4 of them to the back. I transplanted them. But as you can see, some others have sprouted up. These aren't fruiting yet. the big mama is fruiting, but these others are not. There are 4 that I left, and I took 4 to the back. That's right. Here's another one here. Okay, and you will notice throughout the yard we have probably 100 or 150 papaya. I only planted 2. One of them died in the frost because I didn't know what I was doing, and one of them is doing well. The rest of them are all volunteers out of the compost. Moringa oleifera from West Africa. These guys are great. We call them the horseradish tree. I think everything is edible except maybe the wood itself. Highly nutritious. I think they also call it mother's milk or mother's nurse or something, because I think in some countries that's it's so nutritious they want to give it to babies. Oh, and this is kind of neat. This story of this guy. This is a ground cherry, a tomatillo relative. And we won't see any fruit right now. It's the wrong time of the year. But that guy kind of grew on its own. I didn't know what it was. It grew in a pot that I was attempting to grow something else in. And I said, well, I'm going to let this thing grow. And sure enough, it was the coveted ground cherry that my better half Jan loves. We'll get into that story later. But I've got more moringa here. More moringa oleifera, and I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm still very new at this. I've got a pepper that's produced some fruit for us, and it overwintered. It's been there since I planted it in the fall, maybe, of 2017. So it's become a perennial because it's against the south wall, and the south wall, of course, is going to have a good bit of heat. In the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, it would be the opposite. So it allows me to cheat the zones a little bit. Another katuk we're growing. Right here I have ivy gourd, which produces cucumber type of fruit. Some people eat them when they're green. That's a little bitter for me. I prefer them when they're red. It's a little better. You can also eat the leaves and the shoots. And is the case with most wild greens. Oh, sorry about that. Most wild greens, you'll find that the younger they are, the easier they are to palate. Of course, another papaya sprung up just for fun. Okinawa spinach. That is called, Binura. Oh, I forget the Gynura bicolor. I think that's what it is. Of course, this is aloe roe. Now I'm going into the sun, which is not cool. Let me get out of the way of the sun. My little citrus nursery. These, the one in the middle is I can't remember the plant, but it's from Brazil, I believe. Gami chama or gumi bear chama or something like that. But the ones on the outside, these are all little citrus that I'm growing from a tangerine tree that wasn't grafted, that we found in our oak forest, believe it or not. So I'm going to see if I can transplant those when they're ready somewhere where they will grow, similar to where they're growing in our oak forest. I've got a chayote, and I hope I'm saying that right. That's a nice vining, pear-like, cucumber-ish fruit that I'm still learning about. False roselle that I've trimmed off of another plant. Cranberry hibiscus, same thing. Growing comfrey. All right. Try to keep the sun from killing us. What else do we have here? It's an avocado. I didn't protect it very well during the winter, and it died back, but it's growing pretty well. Here's the one papaya that I actually did plant that survived. And this is a Persian lime. More ground cherry growing there, ivy gourd. That's a guava. And here I have volunteer some kind of squash. We'll see what it does. Some kind of squash melon guy is going to grow there. We'll see how that happens. Volunteers, more melon squash volunteers. Again, more of the same thing. And our banana row, or what I like to call the Banana Republic area. I just ordered some Raja Puris, and I understand that they will fruit in half the time that typical bananas will, so I'm going to try those here as well. More cranberry hibiscus. Got those from Corrine Brennan. Thank you, Corrine. And I'm becoming more skilled now. I can actually do the cuttings myself, but I like to help out when I visit people's permaculture farms and organic gardens. I like to help out and buy stuff if they're selling it. I got some dwarf Cavendish here. This is our little frog pond. One of our frog ponds. And I have grapes, muscadine grapes. It's a Mexican sunflower growing up there as well. I've got firebush, two types. One is variegated. There's also some Brazilian passion fruit in there, and I've got some native passion fruit growing, and a couple of the hybrid store-bought passion fruits. More papaya. And here's the Okinawa spinach again. A Gynura bicolor, and I've also got longevity spinach growing in here as well. That's a cousin, it's another Gynura, and I forget the full Latin. Mosquitoes, please stop. Anyway, I know the video's getting way too long. I'm trying to do these short videos. You can see more moringa. With the passion fruit. That's the oldest passion fruit vine I have, and and more mosquitoes. And it's growing everywhere. It's gonna seriously need to be trimmed. I know they fruit better if you do anyway. And I've got more katuk. Katuk as well. Katuk back there, and there's a yacon growing. Again, excuse my pronunciation, I'm still learning a lot of these things. And this is a house cat. That's called Ferris. Hey Ferris, say hi to everybody, buddy. Come on now, say hi. There you go. Alright, this tree I moved. I know this video's way too long. This tree I moved, and I know the sun is horrible here. My video skills need work. That's a carambola, or a star fruit, and I had that down closer to the pond, and I've learned after I planted it there that wasn't a good spot for it. Not a good spot for it at all, because it's really a zone 10, zone 11 plant. We're in a zone 9 area here. 9B actually. We're not going to get in the low 20s. Well, with the climate issues, who knows what's going to change, but I had it down closer to the pond, and cold air is going to seek lower elevations, and that wasn't good, and I was afraid I was going to lose it. So I got it up here, which is warmer and sunnier, and also it's semi-surrounded by these trees to the west. So it should get plenty of morning and midday sun, and hopefully it'll fruit. Anyway, this is it. Way too long video, and kind of choppy. But that's it for me, Would-Be Farmer, Crescent City, Florida. Take care.